Watch your favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com.
Welcome back to Orange Nation, Artist of the Day. Panic at the Disco, High Hopes. We're going to get newsy, Steve.
We are. We've been looking forward to this interview, and let's get to it. We are pleased to be joined by Onondaga County District Attorney Bill Fitzpatrick as we delve deeper into this LaQuinn Allen situation. DA Fitzpatrick, thanks so much for coming on. Let's start with, I guess, from the legal aspect of all this. From what we understand, LaQuinn Allen was charged with third-degree assault. Can you kind of take us through, I don't know what you can share and can't share. Can you just lead us through what you can share from a legal perspective on this case?
Sure. Mr. Allen was charged with assault third degree. It's a Class A misdemeanor. It's punishable by a year in jail, which is not very likely for a first-time offender. And as you would expect, he had an attorney. The attorney came in, negotiated with my assistant DA about the facts of the case, brought a lot of evidence that wasn't readily available from the initial arrest to our attention, and my ADA's conclusion was that the case should be adjourned in contemplation of dismissal for a number of reasons, not the least of which that there's a very strong likelihood that Mr. Allen isn't guilty of anything. Not to say that the arrest was improper. There was an individual who lost a tooth who said that Mr. Allen is the guy that did it, but we later learned a lot more about the case. There was some eyewitness testimony that Mr. Allen had in fact been assaulted and was simply in the process of defending himself. So that disposition is in no way unusual or out of the ordinary for a first-time offender, particularly when he has a viable defense of innocence, not just equities and, hey, I'm a decent guy and please let's settle this, but factually innocent. And now Mr. Allen finds himself in this Kafkaesque nightmare, what's commonly known as the University Judicial Board. Used to be called a star chamber, and I really have some serious issues with it. I have had for years. I've expressed them in the past.
So, the natural follow-up question for me is, how surprised were you to hear of this? I know we were all caught off guard that, all right, this is how the legal system's handling it. He's not facing, from what we understand, any discipline within the SU football team. This was coming from the university. And again, to us, from the outside looking in, me and Paulie, I don't want to speak for you, but for me and Paulie, we said, 2 semesters and essentially what amounts to what would be an expulsion for him because he would lose his scholarship. It seems rather excessive. How surprised were you to hear of the two semester suspension?
I couldn't believe it. I was stunned. It's their universe, and but I'm the professional in dealing with aspects of crime. They are not. There's an excellent article on Syracuse.com by Emily Leiker and Ann Hayes that chronicles the whole case from beginning to end, and also indicates some facts regarding the University Judicial Board. And apparently, somebody up there said that, well, you should have called the cops. What planet are these people living on? The kid is, according to him and according to credible corroborative evidence, is being physically assaulted, and he's supposed to hold up his hand and say, hold on a second, let me get my cell phone out, I want to dial 911. This is a Jersey kid. That's not the way life works. Okay, should he have called the cops afterwards? Sure, I'll give him that. That's fine. But in terms of you should have called the cops. Good grief. It's stunning, to answer your question, Steve.
One common question that we've gotten is, why didn't the other kid get in trouble? The 23-year-old that allegedly struck him first. And we know LaQuinn Allen's getting in trouble at Syracuse University, and he's facing this 2-semester suspension. Why was the other gentleman not charged with anything and not facing any disciplinary action at SU, from your understanding?
essentially, this is a college fight, and I'm not trying to minimize it in the sense, but in terms of my scale of notoriety, and I obviously deal with homicides, rapes, armed robberies, gang assaults, sexual assaults, child abuse, and way down here on the bottom you have some college kids. Unfortunately, I don't know if alcohol was involved or not, but they get into a tussle. The kid lost a tooth. He initially identified someone else, then eventually got around to identifying LaQuint Allen. But it's just one of those things, Steve and Paulie, where you just can't, at this point, you just can't prosecute it. I mean, a first-year law student could drive a truckload of reasonable doubt through a jury in about 30 seconds on this case. It's just one of those things where, it's nighttime, people don't know each other, people are tussling, who threw what punch, who actually knocked a tooth out, who caused the other injuries, was he assaulting LaQuint? At the end of the day, there's just some things that the criminal justice system is not capable of dealing with. And quite frankly, this is not something that should have resulted in one guy being picked out, where there's probably a dozen people involved. One guy singled out and said, "We're essentially going to take your life away at Syracuse University." It's nuts.
You've been at this job a long time. How often of an occurrence is something like this up at that's directly on Syracuse University? And have you ever heard of another case where a student has been punished this much for a similar case?
Well, it's funny, Paul, because I'll have 6 cameras and 10 reporters in front of me and say, "Are you going to handle this case the way the normal way?" And I say, "Yeah, the normal way." When I have 6 cameras and 10 reporters in my face, yeah. Fortunately, incidents at Syracuse University, I think it has a lot to do with Coach Boeheim and Coach Babers and the other sports coaches. I think they run decent programs up there. Fortunately, it's a rare occurrence. I can think back to it's got to be over a decade ago when a number of basketball players were accused of sexual misconduct. We brought the victim in, we interviewed her extensively. The case was completely non-prosecutable, and then she goes back to the university, talks to a professor up there who's enlightened and apparently is more expert than I am at prosecution, and convinces her that these people should be pursued. And we finally had to put the thing in a grand jury, and the 4 players involved were all exonerated by the grand jury, people from this community who listened to everybody's story in the case, just as I predicted would happen. But then we get involved with, again, the university judicial board. You're not allowed to have, you're only allowed to have counsel there. Counsel is not allowed to participate. Have you ever heard of anything so ridiculous, in the 21st century? In this case, LaQuint Allen's attorney, a very good attorney, is basically a decoration in the room. She's not allowed to present evidence, not allowed to cross-examine people. And according, as I said, to reference the Syracuse.com article, if the reporting is accurate, and I know one of the reporters, I believe her to be an excellent reporter, according to the judicial board, Allen was supposed to produce the kid that he's alleged to have assaulted. Is this nuts or what?
That was one of the questions I had earlier. Is in this settlement that he's had with you guys, is he allowed to even reach out to that kid? Because that was the first thing I thought. Most of the cases,
he's got an order of protection. He's not allowed to talk to the guy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You talk about a Hobson's choice.
That is crazy.
I did want to follow up. I think outside, I asked you that last question but outside of athletes, how frequent of a thing is it that kids get in barroom fights here at Syracuse? Not just
It happens all the time. Sadly, I mean, very rarely though does it reach the level of police involvement and criminal prosecution. Normally, the things are handled the way we handle things growing up in Brooklyn. Let's all right. You hit me, I hit you. That's it. It's over. Let's shake hands and forget about it. And I'm not condoning that. Nobody should be involved. And have an expression, nobody wins a bar fight, which is true. People shouldn't, if you can't control your alcoholic intake, it makes you violent. You shouldn't be at bars. You shouldn't be drinking. But it is a not uncommon occurrence for there to be a scuffle, on South Krause or M Street or somewhere up there, or even down in Armory Square when you have university students or students from other institutions, or just people who have graduated and are getting into trouble. But a punishment at its essence has got to fit the crime. People who commit serious crimes deserve serious jail time. This isn't even a crime. This is an unprovable allegation against Mr. Allen, who very well may have been defending himself. And I feel sorry for the kid. He's got to feel like he's the lead character in a Kafka novel.
So what now? I mean, we know that he submitted this lawsuit, suing Syracuse University.
Right.
New York State Supreme Court's going to hear it. Judge Bob Antonacci will hear this case. So what is he hoping is going to happen with this lawsuit? And in your mind, what is the probability that this suspension gets overturned?
I only know this anecdotally because I've spoken to his attorney, but I believe his ultimate goal is reinstatement. He's not looking, to collect $1 million from the university. He wants to, succeed academically and athletically. And, there's a kid, he just lost, again, according to the Syracuse.com article, just lost his dad to homicidal violence. And I know for a fact that he works with local kids here in Syracuse and back home in Jersey. So it's not like this is, some bum. And I kind of have an understanding with Coach Babers. I trust Coach Babers, and it's not the first time one of his guys have been in trouble, but one of the first things I want to do when I see a case like that is reach out to the coach and say, is this a kid worth saving, or is this a kid that's bad for the program and really deserves to be prosecuted? And he's not allowed to speak, of course, because he's an employee of the people being sued. But it's in good hands. I've known Judge Antonacci for years, and he's a sensible guy, and I can't in any way predict the outcome of it, but whatever happens, I hope it happens expeditiously.
What can Judge Antonacci do? Because I'm not completely clear on that. So can he, basically inform Syracuse University you have to reinstate this student athlete?
He can. It's a private institution, so the rules are somewhat different. If it was a public institution, he would have more authority to do that, but it's a private institution. He has to essentially find that they acted capriciously in this case. And if, again, referring to the Syracuse.com article, it looks like the definition of capriciousness as far as I'm concerned. There was a series of cases from our appellate level court in Rochester that came down a number of years ago, I believe authored by now retired Judge John Sentra, that really got to the heart of the matter about how draconian and unfair these judicial board hearings are, because regardless of private institution or not, you have to give the kids some semblance of due process. I mean, can you imagine sitting in a room at, I don't know how old Mr. Allen is, 19, 20. You're sitting in a room, your entire future is at stake, and your attorney can't ask anybody a single question. And there's no live witnesses against you. We're just going on what is in a police report. I wish I could try my case. I wish I didn't have. I wish I could have tried Dr. Newlander like that. I just have him sit there. His lawyer can't say a word. I just read the charges to the jury. They go out and vote guilty in 30 minutes. Man, I'd be the most successful prosecutor in America.
Yeah, he's 18. He doesn't turn 19 until August. It's as you said, just lost his dad. It's a tough situation all around. You've been so gracious with your time. We appreciate it. Anything else before we let you go that you think is important to get out there about this whole situation?
Yeah, I'll bet everybody involved in this situation, if my words get back to them, will say, well, what does he know, or anything like that. This is is about fairness. That's all it is. It's just about fairness. You're punishing it. You're taking away the kid's academic career, his athletic career, for what? For what? That's what it's about. And I appreciate the time spent with you guys and allowing me to vent a little bit about the situation.
Well, DA Fitzpatrick, we appreciate your time shedding some light on this for us. Be well. I know you're very busy. Thanks for finding some time for us. Enjoy some of your summer, and hopefully we can talk again under better circumstances sometime soon.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Paulie.
All right. Onondaga County District Attorney Bill Fitzpatrick. With that, we will take our final time out. We'll wrap up the show next on ESPN Radio.